The best predictor of success, the ability to allocate time properly. Keith Rabois. My friends, 10 to 15 minutes a day, each and every day is all we ask for you to learn how to master the charts. That is to follow price movement on things that we call trends, which are price trends. And again, price trends show the fear and the greed or greed of the people who are in the marketplace. We will see short-term charts, that is the half-day chart, the 195-minute chart, the 2-day chart, and the weekly chart. They show the variations between long-term fear or greed, medium-term fear or greed, and short-term fear or greed. This can change on, well, sometimes a minute basis. We chart it for half-days, 2 days, and weeklies. It is very important that you understand this. And how do you learn it? You just devote 10 to 15 minutes a day joining us for the podcast. You take our trainings, you sign up at chartingwealth.com for free, and you get our daily reviews, you get our daily trainings. We have great trainings that we put out every day. Today's training is on the Monday effect, and you will get that if you're a subscriber. If you're not, go sign up for free. Let's jump into these charts. Everything down but Bitcoin slamming up 16.02%. But let's talk about where we are. First, we go to the weekly chart on the S&P 500. We have a weekly vertical crossover that has confirmed itself. Market down for the day, 2%. How many of you guys were paying attention to that? Bam! We were talking about how it had slowed down first time in 4 weeks. And what did it do? It closed rotating over at the end of the day, opportunity to short the market on something like what? SH, which is the ProShares short. Or of course, if you have been taking if you are a Patreon member, and for Patreon members, don't forget, this next Wednesday, 12:30 Eastern Standard Time in the U.S., we're going to send out the email to give you all the sign-in information. We'll be taking your questions, the stocks and ETFs you're interested in having us help you follow and chart for practice trading. We'll be doing all that on Wednesday for about anywhere between 45 minutes and an hour. If you're not a Patreon member, want to join, please do so. Go ahead and get your questions in and the stocks and ETFs you're interested in. So we see that the reason I mentioned that is the first thing you get as a Patreon member, 3-part training, Options Made Simple, the Charting Wealth Way, because you can also short by what? Doing a practice trade on a put. So again, important things for you to be doing every opportunity you get. Fill out your trade worksheet. At the end of today's training, I'm going to put in the trainings on the weekly market worksheet, trade worksheet, and the daily market worksheet, so you know how to fill those out and use them. That will supercharge your training. All of those are for free, and they're in your show notes every day as a subscriber. So we have a weekly vertical crossover going down. Price percent oscillator crossing through the red signal line. Derivative oscillator hasn't turned negative yet. We like to see the derivative oscillator go negative at the same time. Hasn't happened yet. Might be happening soon. 2-day chart. Now, of course, the last 2-day candle finished on Thursday. So this is the first day of the latest 2-day candle. But we can see things moving down quite strongly. Price percent oscillator pulling away from the red signal line. Derivative oscillator gaining lots of downward momentum. Now we go to the half-day chart. What do we see down in the morning? Further down in the afternoon. So again, we've got strong trends, things moving down quite heavily. And again, how long is this going to go on? Well, typically, when the weekly chart rotates over going down, typically means a big change in the trend. We have been talking about how this market has been moving up, and then when particularly we looked at that 2-day chart, how it had been laminated for so long and just couldn't figure out what it was going to do. Well, when it started deep diving, of course, it pulled over that weekly that had been sideways for so long on us, that weekly price percent oscillator. So it's good to see the market taking some firm action. Now we go to the Qs, the NASDAQ 100. Look at it. Had a slowdown in the week. It was a green up candle, but a slowdown in that up movement. Laminated weekly just for forever, even though it kept perking up. What do we see now? It's finally, well, it's rotated over. I'm not saying finally because it's done that previously. It just lots and lots of indecision. Not pulling the hammer on that one, I totally understand. But again, price percent oscillator has rotated over, going down. Derivative oscillator losing downward momentum. Now, this is something interesting to watch. The price percent oscillator has rotated over, going down, but we still haven't rotated the arrow. Why? Because we're not finished drawing the 2-day candle yet. So we'll see what happens on Monday. And again, we'll watch, wait, and see. Might give you a jumping in point on that if there's a big down day on Monday and you really see the price percent oscillator pulling away from the red signal line on that weekly chart. Half-day chart, of course, it crossed over, going down in the afternoon on Wednesday the 27th, sideways on Thursday, and hammering down in the morning and afternoon on Friday, pushing through that weekly trend line. So that is where we are on stocks. Next we go to bonds. Bonds down for the day 0.60%. So what do we see happening with bonds? Well, bonds were down 2 weeks strong in early to mid-January. Last week, slowing down in that down movement. This week, a doji, a green doji, indecision, tending up. Price percent oscillator still gaining downward momentum. Still moving down. Derivative oscillator still gaining downward momentum. So again, things are sliding sideways. As you look at the 2-day chart, you can see where that sideways slide hit, up for 4 days, and then this last day trying to pound down. Haven't had a crossover yet on the price percent oscillator, derivative oscillator, positive. Half-day chart just starting to move over, heading down on the price percent oscillator and derivative oscillator at the end of the day. So what do we expect? If stocks really are going to hammer down, then we would expect the bonds, which is a safer place typically, historically, to start moving up. So we'll wait and see if indeed that happens. In a healthy market, that's what would happen. We'll see. I don't know how healthy this market is. So we leave bonds. We go to gold. Gold down for the day just a little bit, 0.04%. See that sideways slide in effect. Green spinning top, lots of indecision. Price percent oscillator still meandering down. Derivative oscillator about flat on the weekly chart. 2-day chart, again, look at that sideways slide. Gold still moving down. Derivative oscillator losing some downward momentum, but that price percent oscillator, a king of indicators, still heading down. Half-day chart, laminated pretty much. Again, pounding up in the morning and losing it in the afternoon. So waiting for bonds to sort themselves out. Lastly, we go to Bitcoin. What did Bitcoin do? Up 16.02%. Is it anywhere near the $40,000, $41,000 mark? No, it's at $37,000. Now, that's important to note. As we look at what's been happening, we can see that there's almost a doji right now. Price percent oscillator, which was heading down, is flattened. Derivative oscillator, still positive but losing momentum. Check out this 2-day chart. It's flat also. If a green candle forming, we'll pay attention to that. Very important for us to pay attention to that. Why? Because the weekly's still in a confirmed up move, and that 2-day, remember when it crossed over and we said look for the potential of jumping back into Bitcoin if you have a 2-day recross going up. Means after a pullback, if that 2-day rotates over heading up, like you see back on the charts, that week ending, that Thursday representing Wednesday the 16th and Thursday the 17th of December, look at what that would have done for you. Well, let's see if we have that setting up. We may not. One day doesn't make a trend. We'll see, but that's where things are now. Mark that in your show notes. What about the half day? Crossed over in the morning and flying up again. I mean, you can just see how that momentum has built. We'll see how long that goes. So pay attention. Hope you've been marking all this down in your weekly market worksheet. You're ready to get busy this next week. We so appreciate you being with us. You don't have our book. We have an autographed copy for you. We appreciate our Patreon members. You want to be one, join us this next week on that live question and answer session. We'd love to have you. Want to get that free training, the 3-part Options Made Simple, the Charting Wealth Way, That's the first thing you get when you become a Patreon member at any of our 3 levels of support. God bless, my friends. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth World Headquarters.